On Sunday, the Premier released a report that outlined a legislative option for banning children under the age of 14 from accessing social media. The Premier has publicly stated his desire to legislate in this area on the basis that social media causes harm to children. Meanwhile, over 130 Australian organisations have joined a coalition calling for the age of criminal responsibility to be raised to 14 due to the harm caused by exposure to the criminal justice system. Evidence from brain development experts shows that criminalising the actions of children can cause long-term harm. Children who are arrested by police, sent to court or locked away are more likely to develop mental illness, to disengage from school, become homeless or even die prematurely. My question to the Attorney-General is, why does the government believe that at 10 in South Australia you are too young to go on Instagram, but you're old enough to be held criminally responsible and detained in adult facilities?
Attorney.
I thank the honourable member for his question. Certainly there are a whole range of areas where we think, for many decades, parliaments have recognised harm can be caused to children. We don't allow children to enter casinos, for example, for very, very good reasons. I am very proud of the policy that this Labor government has taken in relation to what is an area that has developed very, very rapidly, the area of social media and interaction on developing brains. Having had 3 young kids who are now all teenagers and seeing how their interactions are so vastly different to what I encountered decades ago at that same age. I think it is extraordinarily difficult being a young person today with the pressures and just how quickly those pressures are applied with the advent of social media. This government commissioned former Chief Justice Robert French to provide some guidance into how we might look at legislating in relation to this area. I was fortunate to be able to spend some time at the end of last week meeting with the Premier and Judge French and have had a very close examination now that it's been publicly released of, I think it's about 274-page report which sets out some draft legislative framework in relation to how you might implement a policy of banning social media for children under 14 and only with parental consent up to the age of 16. I'm even more pleased, sir, that on the back of the work that South Australia has done in this area, that the federal government has announced they will take this up and use the work that we have done to inform them of looking at a nationwide ban. I think the Premier said at the time on Sunday that it would be preferable to have a nationwide ban, but if that didn't occur, South Australia would look at going it alone. In relation to the other part of the honourable member's question, the minimum age of criminal responsibility, I understand and appreciate and congratulate the honourable member for his very significant advocacy in this area. I've informed the chamber before when he's asked, which I suspect was probably last sitting week, that we continue work on this in South Australia, and certainly it's a question I've been asked over the last week as we've developed a policy on access to social media. I'm happy to repeat again, the overriding consideration that this government is taking into account when it's assessing feedback from the discussion paper that we have previously released is the interests of community safety. What will make the community safer? And I acknowledge there are arguments about not locking kids up in a custodial setting and rather looking at therapeutic or family intervention models that can have the effect of making it less likely for that very young child, a 10 or 11-year-old, to end up being a teenager of 16 or 17 who offends, and then a young adult who offends. And we are continuing the work as a government to look at, if we did make the change, what would come in its place. Because as I've said before, the thing you'd last want to do is just change a number in a bit of legislation from 10 to 14 without having everything else that's needed in relation to that. And again, one of the other complexities, sir, that we are working through is not just what takes the place of a criminal justice intervention and detention in detention facilities, but then what role do the police play? How do you ensure someone is removed from a situation, not for their own safety as well as the community's safety? It is important that there is still those powers of immediate intervention for the police to ensure not just community safety but individual safety, and that work continues.
Mr. President.
Supplementary question, Mr. Sims.
When will the Attorney-General bring legislation to this chamber to raise the age of criminal responsibility? What's the time frame?
Attorney.
For his supplementary question, and I want to be very clear, this isn't a question of when, it's a question of if. We, as I've outlined, we do not have a policy in relation to raising the minimum age of criminal responsibility. What we do have is an interest in assessing what the options would be and what would tend to make the community safer.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Ms Benares.
Thank you. When does the Attorney expect that that assessment will be completed?
Attorney.
And I think I've said this before, we don't have a definitive date. It is, as I mentioned, a couple of the elements of it, a very complex area of work, and we continue to work in the area.
The Honourable Mr Sims.
Supplementary, as part of, and referring to the original answer, as part of the government assessing their position on this, will they commit to releasing these submissions that have been made to their discussion paper so that the community and members of parliament can help inform their views?
I think the honourable member, and I think he asked this as a substantive question in weeks gone by. We will continue to assess those, sir. It is not the routine practice that submissions are released. In fact, it's not infrequent that submissions are made to discussion papers that government releases where there's an expectation, because of the nature of what people are submitting, that privacy will be respected.